Flat Earth, no gravity. What did he just say? Just kidding. Or am I?
Gravity is supposed to be the greater the mass is the greater the attractor. You take a balloon, you rub it on your leg, you put it over the ground. Watch the dust particles jump off the ground, off this big mass called the Earth, and jump onto that balloon. Because why? Electricity is 137 times stronger than the pull of gravity or the effects of the so-called gravity. It's the electric force that's the attractive force. It's the electric force that tightens everything together as the masculine, and then the dividing force is the radiative force, the magnetic field. It ablates and pushes everything out, and then they collect together again. But where these things meet, at the proper angles of incidence, like the Birkeland currents talked about, those plasma currents talked about, those angles of incidence is at 120 degrees when it converts it back into electricity, and it will keep collecting and coming and making life. The planet isn't a dead thing. It didn't just happen to come together. That's just the process by which it was given life. It's alive, and it's screaming. It thought we were going to be beneficial to it, and now it's trying to kill us. It needs to scratch itself and get rid of us because we are too dangerous.
And that asteroid belt that we have right now, between Mars and Jupiter, that used to be a planet. And I believe that they had humanoids that developed on there. I believe that Sirius used to be a planet when it was here, and the humanoids on there didn't recognize that we don't have a solid core. Everything expands as a sphere, and no sphere in our universe, no bubble has a solid core. We're perceiving it as a solid core, but there's not a solid core there. There's just a bubble. And at CERN, that Hadron Collider, that particle accelerator, I believe they did the same thing, and they popped their planet. And it became that asteroid belt.
Really?
Just if you add up all of the weight of the mass of those of the asteroids in the asteroid belt, it will probably equal the same mass as that of Mars. Hemoglobin and chlorophyll. And you're going to notice that the hemoglobin has the same exact combination of carbon and hydrogen that we have. The only difference they have is the center of theirs is magnesium and the center of ours is iron. That's the only difference. You put a cephalopod up there, it will be copper. The same interaction of so where does consciousness occur? Where does the sentient being, is it just in the iron? Or is it the magnesium deals with the pressure condition, like with a cephalopod, it has to have copper at its base because of the pressure condition. It's the same experience, just under a different temporal dimension. Change the pressure condition, change the motion condition, you change the organism, it adapts. But it's the same living principle. There's no difference between us and the plants. And when people are chopping down and ripping things off just because they can't hear them scream, it's wrong. So TCOTLC.com, we put all the patents inside of the Center for Truth, Love, and Consciousness. That's what TCOTLC.com means, because I knew that I have a propensity to get angry and get emotional and could misuse this stuff. So we have a board of members that dictate. You can stop it. Now what, so.
Go to that image.
Like if you picture dropping a pebble into a pond or a pool, everything expands in these longitudinal waves,
right?
Perfect spheres, unless there's something else in there. But when it hits the edge, it all starts bouncing its way back. And when these returning waves meet expanding waves, that's when we get our first geometry. So this is the proof that the universe is not infinite, but finite. Because you could not have shape without the returning waves, and the waves would not return unless it was bouncing off of the edge of something.
Look how strange that is.
Bingo.
Look how strange that hexagon on the top of Saturn is. Or yeah, that's Saturn, right?
Yep, and then we don't even, and
that is so crazy.
He explains exactly how he built it, all the angles of incidence, all the pressure systems that he used. All of that is so it can be a repeated experiment. But they've ignored this. This is in the beginning of my book. You go to my book, that's the first page on there. Before you even open it up, I've got this, and we rebuilt the Milky Way galaxy the same way, and it predicts the star arrangement better than NASA does. And this is without dark matter. This is without dark energy. This is without the standard model. So
is dark matter or dark energy, are they primarily theoretical?
That's all theoretical. They've never witnessed it, and we could.
I want you guys to know about a 6,000-year-old secret. 6,000 years, mankind has been trying to decipher this one little thing called the flower of life. Have you guys ever seen this before? Now, you know this is one of the oldest symbols in human history, right? This symbol was found in the Temple of Osiris in Egypt, and it had been molecularly burned into the wall. And it's 6,000 years old. This same symbol has been found in the forbidden temples in China, sitting under the foo-foo dogs. And the foot on it, the flower of life, saying whoever controlled that flower of life controlled the universe. There were secrets in that flower of life that Da Vinci spent his whole life trying to uncover. There were secrets in that flower of life that Newton spent his whole life in secret trying to uncover. The same secrets that Pythagoras was desperately trying to uncover. But their problem was they kept seeing this in a two-dimensional space. They couldn't get it out of this two-dimensional frame, and as a result, they got stuck in this plane, a flat plane. Now, what Da Vinci and all of them wanted to do, they were trying to find a way to bring this flower to life, because what is inside of it? Well, apparently, there were secrets inside of it. Shapes, they got the Merkaba and all of those other things out of it. But they were misled by something I think called a straight line. You guys believe in straight lines? You believe there's straight lines in the universe? Well, let me hit you with something. All energy in the universe is expressed in what? It's in motion. If something is still, there's no energy. Kinetic, right? All motion is expressed in what? You look at galaxies. Are they expressed in straight lines? Expressed in vortices. All vortices are expressed in what? Waves. All waves are curved. Show me a straight line in nature. You show me where the platonic solids come from. Where do they have their foundations in our universe? Are there any straight lines? If you look at anything, there are no straight lines. That's been the mistake. We've been looking at these straight lines, this Euclidean way of thinking, and missing the curvature of nature. So here we are, back with the curvature of nature. And we have all these little pieces. Now, this has always been an information system. So compare some of these points. Take a point here and say, well, what's the space in between all of these things? Now, they've said that all the in-between spaces, if this is the Earth and this is the moon right here, all this in-between space is filled with what? A void. There's nothing in the void. Well, I found that there is something in the void. The elementary fundamental particles that they've been searching for at the CERN Collider, the Hadron Collider in CERN, I found that their energy signatures matched perfectly to some of the pieces that I was able to pull out of here. I've spent 45 years searching these things out and trying to figure out what the universe really, how it really worked. And we've come to find that the universe, they are abandoning the standard model, the ideas of black holes and dark matter, for an electric model of the universe. There's tons of paperwork of Da Vinci working on the flower of life and trying to unravel it. But every single existence, every single example, you see him making straight lines and trying to make these straight lines bend in, and therefore he was never able to open it up. Because the universe is curved, all space is curved. And as a result, what I was doing in trying to find these straight lines, I abandoned the idea of the straight line. The shortest distance between 2 points is curved space, because you cannot force your way straight through space. Even electricity, as it moves from a southern plane to a northern plane, it always goes northeast in its direction. And magnetism, as it expands out, it goes southwesterly. And that's the spin. That's how you always know whether it's magnetism or electricity. It's the spin. Is it northeast or is it southwest? But in trying to define the spaces, it allowed me to see that all of these in between, what we have been dealing with is these petals. All of mankind have dealt with these petals, but it's these other shapes that we've ignored constantly. Well, those other shapes were the in-between spaces. They were the things that filled up the vacuum of space. And all these particles that I have, I think are the full proof of that. And it is also the full proof of the wave particle argument.
But my intention was to rebuild the periodic table.
Rebuild the periodic table. What do you mean specifically?
Well, the way the periodic table is laid out, the periodic table they have now,
Let's see.
it looks like a
Pull up
box.
an image of it.
It looks like a straight box.
All right, here's the periodic table.
You'll see hydrogen sitting all the way over there by itself, but they don't show that hydrogen has the same tone as carbon.
What do you mean by tone?
Same tone, same key of E. Same key of E. 40.5 hertz. The next one would be like 81 hertz. You go to silicon, it will double up and will be 162 hertz. You'll go to cobalt, and it'll be 324 hertz. It's the tones that they create. You know, their color. Like you can turn color back into sound based upon, it's the same wavelength, it's just twice as long or much longer. So all you have to do is keep dividing the curvature of nature. Now this has always been an information system. Take a point here and say, well, what's the space in between all of these things? Now they've said that all the in-between spaces, if this is the Earth and this is the moon right here, all this in-between space is a void. There's nothing in the void. Well, I found that there is something in the void. The elementary fundamental particles that they've been searching for at the CERN Collider, the Hadron Collider in CERN. What I've done is I've figured out about 7 different elementary particles, fundamental particles. And then there were secondary generational particles that seemed to occur. And when these things began to build up more and more, they began to create their own systems. The flower of life has been opened. It's a whole different monster. But all of these wave conjugations, all of these states of matter, all of these things, it's time for that to be changed now. At this very moment, your life is being guided and influenced by universal forces you may not even be aware of. And the most powerful of all is the law of attraction. Just like the law of gravity, it is always in effect, impacting your life in more ways than you can imagine.
I would encourage people to use the mental tools of physics and apply them broadly in life. They're the best tools.
If applied philosophy is mathematics, then applied mathematics is geometry. Geometry is simply the music that we experience with our eyes. And applied geometry becomes physics. And applied physics becomes chemistry. And applied chemistry becomes biology. And applied biology becomes psychology. And applied psychology becomes sociology. And applied sociology becomes philosophy. It's a big circle. Each one is just a different perspective or angle or angel of looking at this one truth. We separate all of these different disciplines into different areas of study, and never the twain shall meet. But actually, it's all interconnected, and it's only us that perceives it as separate.
Every human being is a creator, and they are creating their life. For many of us, we did not know that that was the case, and we are creating our life through our thoughts. If you want something, I could lock you up in a room and padlock that room, and you ask for that, and you know you have it. You know you have it now, and it will come. It will come, and nothing in this world can stop it.
Everything you've heard so far is a fact. The mind is a very powerful thing, and the law of attraction can manifest the things that you truly desire in life. Whether you realize it or not, you are responsible for bringing both positive and negative aspects into your life. The difference in whether or not it is positive or negative lies in where you decide to focus your thoughts. Once you are aware of this universal law, you can learn how to use it to change your life for the better. Because here's the thing, you are in a constant state of creation. Every moment of every day, you are actively creating your reality. With every thought, either consciously or subconsciously, you are creating your future. And when you know how to harness the power of the law of attraction in your life, you can direct your thoughts and actions in a way that allows you to effortlessly attract what you want. When you understand how the law of attraction works, you can use it to change your life for the better and create an amazing future. You know what's going on?
Government
They do not want you. We're about to kill gravity. We're about to kill their god, gravity, and they don't want that.
Towards the
Here we
center.
go. Here we go. From the beginning.
And when I play it, this is what pops out.
Holy fuck.
Wow.
And then when I look down at the top, it makes the actual hexagon that NASA has observed on the top of Saturn.
Without gravity.
Without any gravity. And you'll see that you get a surface of the sphere on the inside with the heavier particle.
Are you basically saying, is this saying that you guys can recreate planets?
Yes, this is a particle simulation of the physics involved in making up the planet Saturn.
Wow.
So the heavier particles are creating the red and the green.
Can I pause this for a second?
Yeah.
So is he saying that just by doing these calculations, it created the exact form of Saturn, including the rings?
Just the exact form of it.
Just with the
So you
calculations.
change the angles of incidence that these linchpins, because remember, each one of these are opposing vortices. So there's 12 vortices to this that are opposing. So once the angles of incidence change, you change the motion and pressure conditions, you can now change the condition or the crystallization. So I was saying with the periodic table, now because we have the angles of incidence, material engineering can now separate